Hello everyone, welcome back. So I made this VTuber a while ago. It was designed to be used in Live 2D, so therefore it has many layers. And I also decided to make a PNG version of it and test it out in PNGTuberPlus. The links will be down below for this program. So anyway, I started out with a sketch, and since it's a PNG, I like to take my time and actually plan out all the items that I need to separate. So after a bit of thinking, I decided to make layers for hair over, middle, hair over sides, eye closed, eye open, mouth closed, mouth open, head, jacket for over, bandana, jacket for under, and body. You can see all of these in separate folders. I like to work this way because it's actually easier to draw and see all the elements you need. But another way of doing it is just to make the full drawing and just cut it out. Well, I mean different parts and items. And then redraw over the empty spaces. But if you maybe like this method, then we're going to spend a lot of time on the line art. So I use different colors for it and just, well, I guess follow the initial sketch. And when I'm unsure, I actually make a new layer and just do another sketch on it. I always have them on transparency, so you can have as many sketch layers as you need. Now, since I already knew I wanted to make this as a PNG VTuber, I decided to go with a more of a chibi style and just exaggerate some features on it. So you can see I made the head bigger, the fur fluffier, and I think it just adds like a nice touch to the character, especially since we're not using a lot of layers. So this way it's going to be easier to animate and spot them. Okay, so I'm kinda done with some items and it was becoming hard to see the lines. So I went ahead, selected the lines, made a new layer and just fill up the form. This way it's easier to see where you need to add more lines or change the line art or anything in between. This whole drawing took around 5 hours, I think. So it's best if you just take your time and be happy with the sketch, with the line art and the overall shape. So just take your time. Here I decided to also separate the fur in the back. So I made a new layer and folder and cut and pasted. Okay, so final details. I guess you noticed I made him had a very long neck, and that's because I wasn't sure how bouncy I wanted to be. So it's better to just exaggerate some features because the animation might work a bit differently. And you don't want to have empty spaces where there shouldn't be any. This is actually my first model for PNGTuber, so it was a bit of a test, but it was fun to work with, and the program is really easy to use. And thank you so much for the creator. It was awesome to have it. So just go and check them out if you want to. Otherwise, this style can also be animated in other programs like Live 2D or Spine or After Effects. I mean, it's basically the same technique, but without the voice tracking option. So again, the program is easy to use and very awesome to have. Okay, so I think we're almost done with all the line art. Since I'm using thicker line, it's a bit harder to add too many details to it. So keep that in mind if maybe you're having troubles adding more details. But again, you can do a more painterly style if you want to. For this model, I wanted to have a crisp look, so I just maintain like a cell shading style. Okay, and here I've seen some mistakes that I've made, so I'm going around and repairing them. And sometimes you only see them when the work is done, so don't worry about it. Just if you see something and needs repairing, just work on them as fast as possible because along the way you might notice other small mistakes, happy little accidents. Okay, so for the face I wanted to have eyes open, eyes closed, mouth open, mouth closed. And I think I wasn't very happy with the first mouth that I did. So I actually have mouth open 1, mouth open 2. And you can make it work in the program, so that's fine. And here I also saw other small mistakes, and I'm going around and redoing stuffs. Okay, and for the eyes closed, I actually duplicated the eyes open and just edit them a bit. And when I'm happy, I go around and check it again once more. And here I'm playing around with the shapes and just making sure I'm happy with every item that is already drawn. Because once you color it, it's going to be way harder to make any edits. I mean, you can, it's not that big of a deal, but you know, you want to be as efficient as possible so that you don't need to work twice, you know. It's also one of the reasons why I actually added the gray base color, so you can see the shapes more easily. Okay, and I think I'm almost done. I keep going around layers and just double checking, and I decided to redo the mouth closed and a bit of the jawline. I know it doesn't look like much, but after you are going to add color, it's going to look way better. So for now, just be happy with the overall shape. Okay, so I went ahead, made a new layer and added a base color. I started off with coloring the hair, and I'm actually going back and forth to the original drawing, since I've especially used some shades. So in that case, it's easier to just color pick. However, I made sure to slightly change the color to make it a bit more intense. And here I've noticed a small mistake, so I had to went back and just repair it. That small gap was because I was using the selection tool in combination with the free transform tool, so it actually messed up the shape a bit. But again, it's an easy fix. Now I'm just going around each and every layer I already did and just place base color. I'm using a default brush, the round brush, or the G pen I think it's called, just a simple brush. And sometimes a bit of an airbrush. And I'm also using the lasso fill because I found that it's a lot faster for me. Again, I want to keep the cell shading-ish technique, so I'm not adding too many blended colors. Let's go with that. However, if you want to make it more painterly, you can actually do that. So I think it all depends on the style that you want to achieve. Just keep in mind the file is going to be smaller, so I actually noticed that after I finished it. But it's okay, we're learning. Now I wasn't sure the level of details I want to go with, so I'm usually going with a base color, a darker color, one extra darker color, and a lighter color. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 base colors. And I do that for each and every item. And if I really want to add more details, I can just go ahead and just add more colors to each and every item. But for now, I don't think you need to waste too much time on just one object. So work a bit on each and every element. And you can add details later if you want to. Just make sure it's consistent. So for the eyes, I actually went back and forth to the original drawing that I did, just because I used a different technique for the eyes. And it's been a long time, so I wanted to make sure they look exactly the same. It's important because it's the first thing you might notice in this type of character. It's usually the face. So spend as much time as you need on it. Now at this stage you don't really need to worry about the layers. So do as many layers as you're comfortable with, or happy. And rename them if you want to. I usually like to rename all of my layers, but sometimes in this case on the face, since I had so many extra layers I wasn't sure of, I just kind of skipped the renaming part. Again, at the end, when you're done with the drawing, we're going to merge all the layers and just make it more simpler and easy for the program to track. I wasn't very sure if I want mouth 1 open or mouth 2 because I kind of like both of them. But I felt like if the character is going to talk and he's clenching his teeth, it might not look like he's actually talking. So I decided to keep both of them and just test it out in the program and see which one I like better. And I'm redoing the mouth closed again. I feel like this one has a bit more personality. And for the last step, eyes closed, I duplicate what I've already made in eyes 1 open and just add small edits to it. And for the last part, the outfit, it's easier to just hide the layers that you don't need. And well, basically continue. This is nothing too special, I just went ahead and do the same technique. Use a base color, a darker color, a darker color, and a highlight or another highlight if you feel the need for it. So in this case I think it was 5 colors and a bit of an airbrush. I'm just using the lasso fill and a normal brush. I like to work on the same color. No, I like to work on objects of the same color at the same time, so it's easier to just go around them. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you feel the need for it, you can just make a new layer and clip it to the Lineart and just literally switch the line colors in a very fast way. So I usually use a darker warm color and just add a bit of an airbrush with a darker tone for the Lineart. And for the jacket, I know you probably noticed I have way too many layers there clipped to the actual base. That's because it was just easier to kinda separate them into different layers on different colors. So this way I can just draw upon them and not going over the lines, I guess. Also, I'm just drawing directly on the, again, this is preference. You can make all the items on different layers if you want to. I just found that this method is just faster for me. And yeah, don't forget to clip the layer if you don't want to go over the selected area, and just draw directly on that particular layer. And when unsure, always make a new layer and test things out. Okay, I think we're almost done. I decided to go with the blue part first because it was occupying a large space. But I'm slowly going to all the other items and just make a few more details on them and just a bit of an airbrush. I don't add too many details along the neck because it's going to be covered by the bandana. But I needed to draw them in case the bandana is going to move up and down and be more bouncier than maybe I would like to. So in this case, it's good to always draw everything that you might or might not see that is going to go under moving parts. So in short, if one part is moving, whatever is underneath it should be already drawn. Otherwise you are going to have a big gap. Okay, so I'm just adding final details here. I decided I need to do the details on the gloves, so I just made new layers and just add them. And where you can, just use the symmetry tool. So in this case, the snowflake went very fast, as in it was easier to make it. Okay, and the final details on the fur. Don't forget to draw everything, even if it's underneath it. It's a moving part, so just in case, it's better to be prepared. And I'm using the lasso fill to add the pattern, and a bit of an eraser and a bit of an airbrush to have a slight variation in color. Again, if you can add more details if you want to, but I think it's good to work a bit on each and every item so you will have consistency. But I was happy with the look, so I just decided to keep it like this. So either way, we're almost done. I think only on the fur I did use a multiply layer because I didn't quite need it for the rest of the objects. But depends on the style you want to go. Okay, so I'm done with this one. I like it, and I duplicated the folder and just merge everything that I need to have merged. I've saved all of this on a different Clip Studio file to have it just in case, and I need to export it. I went ahead and cropped the canvas and start exporting it to 100%, well, full size. And after that I realized we have limitation in the program. So the program reads best at 7 to 0 pixel. So I had to re-export everything and make sure it's under that number. Okay, so I've opened PNGTuberPlus. Now you need to press X to open the folder and export your files. So after you found your files, just import everything one by one. Down at the bottom of the screen you have shortcuts to what you need to do. So at first it's going to just add layers randomly, and you need to go one by one. So I need to change the layering by pressing Q or E. So I'm going around selecting different parts and pressing either Q to add it below under other layers, or E to have it stand out on top of other layers. So at this point you kind of just remember the layering you had in Clip Studio or in Photoshop and just use it as a guideline. So in this case it's going to be the body, fur over, fur under, the bandana, the head, the eyes and mouth, and lastly the hair over everything else. At this point you just kind of have to play around and redo stuff if you need to. So if you press the mouth open or mouth close, you will see a small rectangular with a face on it. So you need to make that one visible on the layer you want to have mouth open, or select the mouth closed in concordance with and same with the eyes. If they're open, just click on the eye open square, and for the eye closed, make sure the square with the eye closed is available, selected. And if I'm sure, just press the X button, so you will go from the actual edit mode to actual view, and just check that everything is working as you want it to be. And if not, just go back and switch up those settings. You're going to be fine. The program is intuitive, you might just need a bit more practice with it. Again, the edit mode looks a bit different than the actual mode. Okay, and here I'm going around and change the pivot point. So you select the sprite you want to edit the pivot point, and just hold O and press WASD, and that's about it with the pivot point. And the next step, we're going to add connect elements to one another. So this is equivalent to connecting a child to a parent. So you're going to connect specific items to a main item. So in this example, I'm connecting the eyes to the head, the mouth to the head to the body. And I think I had a few problems connecting certain elements to certain parent objects. So I was going back and forth. I think the problem was the layering. So I kind of went a bit back and forth and just changed the layering order a few times. And after that, if you look in the corner, you can see all the elements connecting to the body, and soon all the elements connecting to the head. So it's similar with layering, I guess, and folders. Well, we're just linking together different elements to one another. So this is going to be helpful when you just want to animate one main element. Let's say you're adding a bounce to the body, and the body is going to influence all the other elements it has underneath it or linked to it. This way it's just easier to just animate one element instead of 5 with the same animation. Okay, so we're almost done. You can see I have 2 main objects, the head with different items and the body. Now this depends if you have a complex character or not, or what elements you want to bounce or move or rotate. So after we've done this, I'm going to go back to physics. just press one item. In this case I went for the body, and just play a bit with the rotation, the Y amplitude, I don't know, that one. Again, X is horizontally and Y is vertically, just to keep it simple. And I'm playing around with the squash a bit, and just go from edit mode to normal view mode to test it out and see if you like it. Up in the corner you also have a bounce meter that you can play with in case you want to have more dramatic bounce or a slight one. And that's about it with this program. At this point, just have fun with it and test out different settings, and when you're done, don't forget to save it. And as far as I know, it's going to save all the settings you've already done, so I didn't quite have a problem. As long as you save whatever you are doing with your model, you can import it again, and you don't really need to go through importing all the different PNGs that we did in the first step. Just by saving the file, you're going to have everything available and each settings already done. And I think this is all that I was doing in this program. So again, it's easy to use, just have fun with it. And that's about it. See you next time. Bye bye.